Hello, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 9, Episode 11.
Or Episode 201 if you're counting.
Thank you guys for being here. There's a possibility that opening music didn't quite play the way I wanted it to, but also there's a cat in my face right now. Everything is happening here right now, and I'm so glad that you're all here with us for the time being. I know we were off last week. I'm really glad to be back with you guys.
First show of the new year.
Yeah, our first show of the new year. A little later than we wanted it to be, but I guess everybody needs a new year break, right?
Yeah, you know, we get a chance to try out your resolutions, then immediately give them up.
Exactly. I didn't even make a resolution because I knew that was exactly what was going to happen, so...
I ate a salad.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, how'd that go for you?
You saw how well that went for me. I ate the one salad, and then that was it.
Yeah, it looked kind of gross, actually.
It was okay. It needed more dressing.
See, that's how they get you, though. They say, you eat a salad's better for you. Then you put the dressing on it, you've totally negated the salad.
But no, everything's fine now. I want pizza tonight.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that pizza.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm looking forward to that pizza, too.
Delicious, greasy,
fattening
pizza.
I don't know about you guys, like, I'll get on that tangent for a second, because Instagram knows that I like food. So what they'll do is they'll target ads at me, but now, instead of just stuff that's around us, that'd be like, okay, that's like 20 minutes away, I could feasibly drive there, try out this pizza. Now they're sending me ads from, like, Utah and Wisconsin for pizza places that I can't remotely get to because I'm here.
Now they just think you want to look at pizza. They don't think that you want to look at local pizza. They just think you want to see pizza.
No, Instagram. I'm here to do business. I'm here to represent. All right, so if you send me a pizza that is within drivable distance, more than likely I will try it.
So, okay, what if we start an entirely new business where our job is to just travel the country eating pizza, okay? And what if Instagram was like, hey, make this your new job, and...
I just found out about a podcast that does exactly that.
No!
Earlier
someone's already
today.
doing it.
Somebody's already doing that.
Of course someone's already
Somebody over on Starburns Audio, but like... I was like, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't you? That's brilliant. That's genius. It's delicious.
Delicious, yes, very much so. John, thank you for the host as always. Really appreciate it. Since we haven't been here for a week, let's first talk about things that we've been doing this past week.
Well, something that's nice for us, because we've been pretty busy, trying to get things back up and running for the show, getting used to life out here. One thing that makes us feel a lot better is that we're finally starting to get back into anime, and we just plowed through 2 within this past week.
Right.
So first and foremost, we caught up with not even realizing that the second season came out Monday. We plowed through season 1 of Mob Psycho 100.
Which was a trip, because that animation is amazing. It's so bizarre,
comes from the same guy, of course, who does One Punch Man. That manga author. We know we're behind on it, but we just, it's just one of those things. We heard so many great things about it, we just couldn't get around to it.
Our friends are in the dub, so Reagan is Kerbifer.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. He's obviously the fan favorite character.
Well, yeah, because like Reagan is like great teacher Onizuka with actual morals.
Yeah, who doesn't want to sleep with underage children.
Yeah, that's really important.
That's a super important part of
especially now.
Yeah.
But not that it ever wasn't. I mean, that's always important. But no, Reagan's just such a good character, and then Mob, he's just so pure.
Exactly. I think it's a fantastic conversation. So season 2 got started. We're totally down for actually staying up to speed with this particular
season. We're going to be concurrent. Like we were going through the withdrawals there for about a week for not having Gridman anymore. So now that we're on Mob Psycho 100 season 2, we're going to be watching that.
For sure.
And then I guess it just barely got loaded to Netflix recently. I found out about it because of a friend talking about it on Facebook. I was like, hey, let's just try out this one episode of an anime called High Score Girl. Not High School Girl, High Score, like video game. High Score Girl. We saw one episode, and then we just marathoned the whole thing.
In one sitting.
In one sitting, because it's a love letter to growing up in the 90s around video game and arcade culture. And it's kind of got some romance in it, some bittersweet moments that got me right in the feels.
I thought it was mostly good until the ending just decided, hey, we're just going to throw out there that there could still be more drama in the future. And there will be, because there's going to be another 3 episodes.
Well, there better
OVA.
frickin' be, because that was not the place to end it.
That was not a good place to leave off. So, that's the super brief rundown of how that went.
But it's good for the most part. Deep cuts. All of their references are accurate. The only thing that's not really accurate is, I guess, because of a licensing thing. Because they mentioned Nintendo, they mentioned Sega. The only thing is Namco. You always see it as Namcot.
Yeah.
When it's written out there.
They clearly couldn't get Bandai Namco's permission.
But they got everybody else's.
They got, like, everybody else's permission except for Bandai Namco. That's
so weird. But, no, it was a good enough series. There's kind of a few beats that are very familiar to other anime of that nature. You know, young people growing up and getting into adolescence. But for the most part, I was happy to sit through it all.
I mean, it helps that it mostly took place in our generation of growing up.
Yeah, so I actually identified with it. You know, the main character is such a Street Fighter nerd, you know, talking about going around the corner to the corner store, playing Championship Edition. That was me growing up.
And now we see those tiny little $300 arcade cabinets of all the different versions.
Like $200, $300.
Of all the versions of Street Fighter 2 all in one cabinet. And I'm like, I really want to buy that cabinet.
Yeah, they're at Walmart right now. We saw them popping up around Christmas, and people are like getting them and modding them, like putting a Raspberry Pi in there and making it a nice little compact
really
arcade cabinet. No, yeah, like seeing how freaking easy it is to do it. I'm not gonna lie, I want to get down on that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because yeah, emulation's got a rough year that we just got through of all the emulation sites going down. It's like so much history got lost, and we know these other companies, Nintendo, Sega, weren't really worried about preserving these old games. The only way they were being preserved was through emulation. Hopefully some things got out there in the ether on the internet.
You can still find it elsewhere, just not in a very
localized
localized
site,
library sort of a place. Aside from that, yesterday we did something really, really cool. You managed to get us tickets to the world premiere of
Reign of the Superman.
Reign of the Superman, which is the animated sequel to The Death of Superman.
Yes.
That was a really interesting experience. It was down in
Beverly Hills.
What was the name of the center where it took
At the Paley Center.
At the Paley Center. Right now they've got this drunk history exhibit
going on. It's a really small, it's literally a really small, it's like miniatures that they have there. But no, we got to see that last night. No spoilers, but there are very significant changes. If you were a fan of the comics of Reign of the Superman, that arc after Superman has passed on because of the fight with Doomsday, there's some very different changes, but they make sense for the world that they've already set up in these animated movies. So that having been said, I thought it was a great movie. A lot of fun little bits. There's some nice banter amongst the Justice League.
Batman gets one of the best lines in
Yes,
in
I
the
don't want to
movie.
spoil it, but yeah, he gets probably the best line in the movie. They really heavily lean into the design of Superman when he... Because, yeah, we all know he comes back. But, you know, there in the comics, he had, you know, the 90s flowing, like, Fabio hair.
Yeah.
And the black suit. We get the black suit, we get the flowing hair, but there's a very blatant moment where he's just standing there, nothing's happening on screen, and the wind just decides to go...
Hilarious. Absolutely
Like, they
hilarious.
really wanted to hit, no, he's got that hair. But no, it was real fun. We got to meet Jerry O'Connell, who's the voice of Superman, while we were outside waiting to get in. That was kind of funny.
Well, because he's walking up next to the line of people, and I'm looking over there, and I'm like, oh, look, there's somebody important. I recognized him, and you're like, and it was Jerry O'Connell. He's walking around just saying hi to people, and like, I'm sitting here in the line. I had just gotten back from Chipotle because I was like, man, we're still gonna be standing out here for like at least an hour.
Yeah,
I'm hungry. I better go get a burrito. I don't even like Chipotle. The burrito I got wasn't even good, but I'm sitting here going, and he comes up and he stops in front of me sitting down and looks me in the eye. Hi, how's it going? Hi, I'm good. How are you?
So then he's like, "Hey, come on, guys! I take selfies. Like, let's do this. You know, I'm here for the fans." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I get my phone out. If you go over to my Instagram, there's the photo of me, and I also had it go to Twitter too of me with Jerry O'Connell. So that was really cool. You know, it's not every day you think you're gonna run into Superman. Like, I knew there was gonna be a Q&A after the screening, but I didn't think he was actually gonna come out and, you know, hang for a second with fans.
Right. But then I tweeted about the experience, and he liked it, and he followed me. He liked your photo of you and him together.
He did not follow me, though.
He did not follow you. Like, this is so strange because my experience was just... Hi. Burrito. And
you didn't offer him any.
As far as I know, I'm the only one from that night that he followed, and that's strange. It's strange.
Well, you got to think about it. You know, he's in the movies. He's in Hollywood. It's a strategic move. You know, it's a business thing. He sees you have a lot of followers.
To find the girl with the burrito.
Well, yeah. You know, he's got to get his name out there. You know, let people know about the movie. You know, he's got kids to support.
I don't care. I really don't.
You don't care that he's trying to support his family by getting his name out there on social media.
He's married to a supermodel. He's fine.
So let me get this straight. So you're saying here on air that you don't care about Jerry's Kids?
I don't know if anyone else even knows what Jerry's Kids is. I know you really wanted to make that joke, but his kids are fine.
His kids are probably fine.
His kids are fine.
But yeah, that's been the week we've had out here. Been kind of fun, interesting things. I know ALA is going on this weekend. Next week, we've got the opening of the Dragon Ball Broly movie. I just found out today that's going to be in IMAX.
It's pretty hardcore.
That's pretty hardcore. I'm half tempted to do it in IMAX because you know the hardcore fans are going to see it in IMAX.
Yeah, they're going to be excited. They're going to be excited if they're doing it in IMAX. That's for sure.
Okay, but before we get to that, that's next week. We're here in this week, and we're doing a show.
Doing a show?
Yes.
So it's time for follow-ups, right?
No, we need to talk about what our stories are.
Oh. What?
Yeah. You see, the follow-ups come after we tell people what the stories are.
When did that happen?
Like, every week that we do the show?
Oh, okay. I guess we better get started. What is going to be our first news?
So our first story, which came out, is a trailer for the Netflix adaptation of Carmen Sandiego. They've changed the story a little bit in terms of what her character is. She's not exactly a bad guy anymore. So we're going to talk to you guys about that trailer and what we think of it.
Secondarily, was it Batman second?
It was
Batman second.
So we got more news that The Batman is supposed to be filming this year, that the script has been already submitted. So we're going to be talking to you guys about the updates that we've gotten for The Batman and where that could potentially go, since things are kind of in the air right now for DC.
And then finally, final news is a whole bunch of Overwatch stuff. Lots of Overwatch-related things happened. A lot of lore dropped. A lot of little controversies here and there dropped. We're going to try and handle that as tactfully as possible, because I know
we're going to walk that minefield.
Because I know that this is a really sensitive subject, a very sensitive topic, and is going to upset people one way or the other, so I hope you will stick it out with us and have that conversation right along with us.
Yes.
So can we talk about the follow-ups?
Yes, we can talk about the follow-ups.
I'm not actually, like, super excited about any particular one, but maybe you can get me
So since we were talking about DC Animated, we'll go ahead and talk about the next things that they have coming up. So it has already been announced that Batman and Superman and all the Justice League will show up in the next movie, which is Justice League versus the Fatal Five. After that, they've already confirmed that there's going to be Batman Hush being adapted into a animated movie. The other thing, what we're getting little tidbits of, and it hasn't fully been confirmed, but this sounds pretty strong right now, is that just after that, the next adaptation they're going to do is of the classic story Batman: The Long Halloween, which takes place in that same Year One universe. It's actually the story of the first time Batman has a run-in with Two-Face.
Okay.
It's a really good story, a lot of great characters in that, so that should be several movies down the road. That's what we're going to see.
Oh,
I hope that eventually, because they're going back and visiting all these different important Batman stories, my personal favorite is if they do it in multiple movies, just like they did with Superman, if they do, like, 2, I would hope 3 parts of Batman Nightfall. That
would be really cool.
That would be amazing.
I would hope so, because Nightfall has been a long-cherished graphic novel series once they finally, package it all together.
Yes.
But That would be amazing if they would do that.
Absolutely. So moving on to some other slightly related Batman stuff. So, of course, during the Elseworlds crossover there on CW, we did see Ruby Rose there as Batwoman. She has been officially ordered for a pilot. So we're at least going to get the pilot for Batwoman, and that, of course, will test the waters to see if it's viable enough to have a full series. I think it's a good idea since a lot of people are rumbling about how much longer Arrow has to go since they're already in its 6th season.
Sure.
So it might be a good replacement.
Is that story tied into that image?
Yeah, that's her right there
that's
in the costume. A lot of people were like, it's an okay costume. I think it's an okay costume.
Dr. Game 0869, I think you're over on YouTube. Thank you for that YouTube subscription if you're watching this over on YouTube later.
And moving over to the movie part of things, so Aquaman has just been a straight-up massive force at the box office. It is now the highest-grossing DC extended universe movie.
That's pretty crazy.
Out of all of them.
That's insane.
Like, nobody would have thought this.
And, I thought it was entertaining. I didn't think it was, amazing, but I was like, oh, it was better than I expected. Good job. That's where I was at. Maybe it's just that people are that shocked that it's like, it's not bad! And that's what their reaction
It's entertaining! Yeah, that's kind of where I was coming from with it, too. And the fact, the number one thing, they made the green and orange costume work.
Yeah. They also had to earn it, and I feel like by the time he got it, he did earn it.
Yeah, because, at that point, you do the right thing leaning in to Jason Momoa's characterization, no, he's Aquaman. You want to tell him he looks stupid? I'm not going to tell him that. You going to tell him that? No, let him do it. And
he's got it.
Yeah, so he's got it. So let's go ahead and move over to our Marvel news. So, of course, earlier this week, we got a very quick minute-and-a-half trailer for Captain Marvel, getting a little bit more of a look into what the story's going to be. But the bigger thing attached to that is that tickets are on sale now. And apparently they're going at a very quick pace. It's already ranked 3rd out of the Marvel movies, with the exceptions of Infinity War and Black Panther. It's 3rd behind those for the quickest amount of tickets sold.
Well, they're also trying to run that campaign for girls to go and see this in droves, much in the same vein as Black Panther, getting young black kids a seat in the audience to see these in big, massive droves.
Same thing for young women. They want girls to come out, since the release of this actually comes out on the same day as International Women's Day. So that's going to be a very big portion of the marketing is geared towards women getting out and seeing, just the same way it was with Wonder Woman, you get to see you on the screen,
right,
the way that other people take it for granted.
Sure.
So that's the thing right now. If you haven't gotten your tickets, get on those because they are going fast.
We should do that.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to some Netflix things. So we still have Punisher to look forward to. We do have a date for that. That is next Friday the 18th. That will be Season 2 for the Punisher. We got a new trailer for that, showing him going up against some new villains, and of course a returning villain in Jigsaw. Very much looking forward to this one. I really like the first season and the handling of the material. Here in the second trailer for the second season, we're seeing that Frank's kind of dealing with this idea of, at the end of the first season, maybe I can walk away from this, but now he's grappling with, no, I really can't. You need to let me be this this angry guy, because this is all I am.
So he's really embraced it by this point.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to embrace it. Like, other people are like, nah, man, you don't have to do it. And he's like, no, I kind of do. So that's where we're going with that. So next weekend, if you're not doing anything, you'll be marathoning that.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to some other... Normally I would leave this with the Tokusatsu news, but it kind of crosses over here. So this is something we actually reported on for Tokusatsu Network. So over on Twitter, producer Phil Lord, who was a producer there on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, people were, of course, talking to him, praising the movie, and asking the hard-hitting questions like, well, where the hell is Japanese Spider-Man?
Exactly. That's the only question that matters.
It is the only question that really matters. And we got a straight-up answer. He said, all right, if the domestic box office hits 200 million, he's in. Guaranteed. Flat.
In the second movie.
Well, he'll be there in the second movie.
Yeah.
So
it's the second movie.
So currently, as of the time that was put out there, the amount was just under 96 million to go, so that we could get that locked in. Now, admittedly, we didn't pay to see the movie. We got lucky enough to see an advanced screening. That's not to say we're not going to make a chance to go out there and support this.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I need to see Leopardon interacting with everybody.
Yeah, I just need to see Leopardon be legitimized even further. And everyone's always like, well, you can read the comics, he's in there. I would actually prefer to see the series on Blu-ray or DVD in North America, because Marvel.com used to have the entire series legally streaming and translated up on their website, and for whatever reason it has not been there for a few years now. But if we can reignite the excitement for Japanese Spider-Man, maybe they will give us DVD or Blu-ray releases. That's all I care about.
Because people want this. That was retweeted quite a bit just on its own, and then other people getting behind it being like, hey, Japanese Spider-Man might be a thing. If we don't support this thing, it might not make it.
Make it happen, folks.
Let's make it happen.
You and the captain make it happen. I don't know who the captain is.
Marvel. Captain Marvel.
Oh, Captain Marvel. Got it. I wanted to be the captain, but
yeah.
There's already a captain,
No.
I guess.
I am the captain now.
All
right, so let's go ahead and move over to some other Netflix stuff. Everybody, of course, is very much looking forward to Stranger Things Season 3, and we were wondering, when the hell are we going to get it? Well, they've given us a release date, thanks to this new poster. It's giving us an odd date, July 4th.
So we're not doing this as a Halloween thing anymore.
What everybody was looking forward to this past year. Like, come on, you guys have been our October treat. Like, you did it for this first season, you did it for the second season. Come on, 2018, and then it didn't happen.
I think a good summer haunt would be kind of cool, actually. Well, I'm excited about it.
It's a very sort of Japanese thing, though, because Japanese,
that's cool.
Where their ghosts are in the summer.
That's cool.
I mean, I guess.
Let it happen.
All right, I'll let it happen. I'm not in control of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool-looking poster.
Yeah, well, now we're seeing that the characters have, in fact, aged up. They're pushing a bit of a time jump because, yeah, the
actors grow up. Like, you can't stop that.
You can't stop that. You know, they've tried their serums, pills. It's just not working. So they figure we'll just age it forward. Like, I think it's a 3-year time jump, and then we'll get the events happening in 1985. It was a good year.
Yeah.
All right, so moving over to some other news here. Over with Jumanji. So, last year, Jumanji, the sequel there with Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan, Jack Black did amazing.
Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle. Did amazing numbers, and they're fast-tracking that sequel. So we didn't get him for Detective Pikachu, but we did get him for the sequel here. They have signed on Danny DeVito for a major role, they say.
All right, he's allowed, I guess.
Like, I can only imagine, like... Because the way it works for all those actors is they're playing high school kids with those actors as avatars. So I'm trying to imagine it's got to be like somebody huge that gets stuck inside Danny DeVito's avatar. or could he just be a character in the game of Jumanji, which would be more funny.
Yeah, it would be more funny.
If he's an avatar.
It'd be more fun if he's an avatar.
Okay.
Because then you see him more. You'll see him significantly more if he's an avatar or if he's an NPC or something like that.
So we've got that to look forward to. Over with the adaptation of Aladdin, we've got a new picture of Princess Jasmine, of course being played by Naomi Scott, who we saw there in the Lionsgate Power Rangers movie. Looking, a lot of people are like, those aren't the same colors as the cartoon, because it's not a cartoon.
Who cares? Who cares?
It's not a cartoon anymore. Just deal with it.
It's not
the designs are a little different. You're gonna just have to get used to it.
It's not the same. You know what? This is the first time where I'm like, okay, so Disney is remaking their own movies. If you're remaking it significantly differently from your original movie, then it makes sense.
Right.
It's these ones that, like, Lion King looks like it's going to be identical. We had Cinderella, I guess, looked pretty identical.
Fairly identical,
Beauty and the Beast was fairly identical.
Almost verbatim.
Those don't make a lot of sense to me. If Aladdin goes a little off the beaten path and it's not identical, cool. You finally did something that is, like, different, and it makes sense to remake it.
Yes.
That's fine.
All right, so moving on to some other news. This is news that just came out earlier this week about the Anime Awards. So, of course, these are the things hosted by Crunchyroll for all the different anime that came out over this past year. We've got a look at the different categories and who's up for certain awards. Something that we're kind of a little miffed about is that SSSS Gridman is only up for 2 awards, and they're both for Akane Shinjo.
Okay,
as a character.
Okay, what are those awards exactly?
She's up for best performance for a female. Okay,
I
fine.
guess. Yeah, okay.
And then she's also up for best antagonist.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, it's kind of slanted though.
Maybe that's just what the competition was this year, that there weren't that many really great villains. Maybe that's why she was able to make it, so...
Now, admittedly, when you're going up for somebody like All for One there in My Hero Academia, I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. You know, so that's fine. What I don't get is they were completely not in the category for best fight scene. Like, that last episode fight on its own. Like,
Easily.
come on now, easily.
It's amazing. How do you not nominate Studio Trigger for something like a Trigger anime is out there, and you haven't nominated it for its animation in some way, shape, or form? That's pretty crazy.
It doesn't make any sense. On top of that, if I'm not mistaken here, pulling it back up under animation, they're not there under any of the studios nominated.
That's so dumb.
Bones is nominated. Madhouse is nominated. Troika, like I don't even know what studio that is, but Trigger has put their mark on anime at this point. You know, having Spawn off from Gainax, how come they're not in there?
Don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Don't know.
So that's the thing. And then the last thing we'll go ahead and do here in the Tokusatsu portion is, of course, you know, we're talking about Aquaman's box office. We actually have a good thing to report on the box office for Kamen Rider Heisei Generations Forever. They have passed the 1 billion yen mark.
Yay!
Which is one of the fastest they've ever had for a winter movie. I think it's third out of all the movies that they've done there for the movie wars and then into the Heisei Generation line of movies, so that's doing very well. Great to hear that people are still out there going to see it. It's only slipped to a 5th place after being out for almost a month. That's really good.
That is
longevity-wise, because usually after week 2, by week 3, it's gone.
Yeah.
So at this point, after a full month, it's still going that strong. That really shows that people are out there to support their heroes and the Kamen Riders.
Very cool.
So that's all our follow-ups. Let's go ahead and get into our first story with Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, so let me get that playing back here. It's already in progress. In fact, it's really the beginning of the trailer happening right here. So, great. Carmen Sandiego, come back into the forefront of our consciousness with Netflix. When is this supposed to come out? Do we remember?
It's coming out later this year. The story here, they've changed up a little bit because, of course, if you're familiar with the game, the old PBS game show or the short-lived Fox cartoon from the 90s, you know that Carmen Sandiego is a thief. So here, this story is kind of put a little spin on that, give her a little more backstory in that she's I guess kind of a reluctant thief.
I mean, she has joined an organization for thieving.
Okay,
for doing the crime.
She's learning how to do crime.
She's learned how to do crime. That having been said, she's also learned that the crime is the bad, and so she decides that the crime needs to be stolen from in order to protect the things that they are trying to steal, in which case they've made her into some kind of an anti-hero.
Yeah, kind of like Green Hornet, Robin Hood type thing. Like, I'm gonna steal from the bad guys.
Which you know, I think this looks like a fun-looking cartoon. Don't get me wrong. I actually think it looks like a decent, fun-looking animated thing. That having been said, I'm not feeling the whole Carmen Sandiego is kind of the hero. I did far prefer her in all other platforms being, no, she's thieving because that's what she wants to do.
She's stealing because she likes it.
She likes it.
And that's not to say she doesn't like it here. It's just the idea that, no, I think she wants to be a good guy, so why is she learning to be a thief at all? Like, maybe if they provide that backstory, it'll help with the context, but otherwise, it's like, well, you're really trying to shoehorn her into this hero role, and I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. In most other scenarios, in the video games, for example, they used to be mostly PC-based games where you've got a history lesson going on of some variety, or a geographical lesson going on, and by figuring out the different clues, you go and you chase her down and you get back the artifact. Same thing was true for the old PBS game show. You had like 3 different contestants who had to do all of this trivia after listening to a bunch of information. Then you gotta go chase her around the world map and stuff like that.
See, like, just to get on that for a second, so you remember, like, last week we were looking at old episodes of Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Right.
So you compare that to watching old, because you can still see them on YouTube, people saved them, old episodes of the Carmen Sandiego game show, and it's like, Legends of the Hidden Temple had all the stupid kids, and all the smart kids got on Carmen Sandiego.
That's true.
Because the only problem was kind of the same thing that 90s kids had a problem with. Stop me if I'm wrong on this. The game show came out before Animaniacs did Yakko's Around the World song. So the problem was at the end of the show, you had to get this, like, I don't know, this giant pole, basically.
Yeah, it's like a flag.
And you had to put the flag, like, they would call out the name of a city that Carmen was in. You had to run across the map.
And what country is that? Yeah.
And kind of like with Legends of the Hidden Temple, you never saw anybody get it. Like, they'd get, like, I think they'd list, like, 5 cities, or how many cities you could do in a minute. And if you didn't get a certain number, you failed. And I never saw any, like, kids at the last second, like, you could watch on their faces as all the information just drains out of them. And it's like, oh god, where is everything? I don't even know where I live.
I also, like, by the end of it, the kids look so disappointed. Like, probably in themselves, I'm sure.
Well, because you imagine all those kids have to be, like old school nerds. Like, no, I enjoy geography, and like I'm gonna go back to my magnet school on Monday, and the kids are gonna make fun of me. Oh, so you didn't know where Morocco is, idiot?
You don't know either. Yeah, but I wasn't on TV.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's how kids are so cruel.
Yeah, but you also felt like you felt like you were part of the participation, because they always had those postcard things.
Yes.
You send in the postcard and hopefully get the t-shirt or whatever.
Yeah, I never tried it.
I tried it once or twice. I never got it.
No.
I never once got it.
And of course, the biggest thing that some people are upset about going into this is there is no sign of vocal group Rockapella doing the theme for this, and it's like,
let's be honest, they were only there for the game show.
Well, yeah, especially when the old theme specifically cites what time you can watch the show.
Monday
through Friday at 5.
But that's also only in the album release version. They don't say that on the show. On the show, they've got a totally different recording.
Yes, that is true.
It's a completely different recording than what you'll find now, like it's floating around on YouTube, the audio of the album release.
Right.
But no, like the animated series was more like, where is
that animated series, that was a garbage series. Let's just say that right now.
Why?
Well, because that was the first time for me, because I grew up with the PBS show. That was my first introduction to Carmen Sandiego. When they did that Fox show, it was just so devoid of anything. Like, it wasn't entertaining. I don't think the animation was that good.
It was okay.
And like, that was just the most annoying theme song.
It wasn't a fun theme. It wasn't nearly as fun as the game show. You're right about that. It wasn't as fun. But Carmen Sandiego was really snarky. She leads these 2 kids all around the world, and they always almost catch her, and she always gets away, and she's like, all right, bye, kids. And she just kind of
like zip lines away, or has a jetpack.
I thought her personality in that series was really cool. I liked it.
Like, stop me if I'm wrong here on this, the 2 kids that are chasing her around the world, don't they look like every other 90s era cartoon main protagonist?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You can't remember their names, you can't remember what they look like. When I try to remember,
no,
because it was a girl and a guy,
it was a girl and
the guy looks like, what's his face from Atlantis, Milo? He had the same hair.
I felt like he also kind of looked like what's his Earth Ring kid from
from Captain Planet.
Captain Planet. Yeah, they all look pretty identical. These little raggedy 90s white kids.
Yeah.
White boys, I should specify. But then they're led by the dude in the TV screen who looks
like Egon.
Looks like animated Ghostbusters Egon.
And it's just the head.
It's just the floating head.
He's got that really annoying, where in the world is Carmen No, I don't know. Now I don't want to look for her. Shut up. So now we've got this to look forward to. Hopefully, Netflix is doing pretty good right now with more female-oriented stuff. She-Ra's doing, of course, really well.
Also doing very well with animated stuff. Voltron is a very strong example.
And we just lost Voltron. I mean, it's still there, but it's over. So now maybe this will be a thing.
This is not the kind of animation that I would typically get into, but I'm going to allow myself this one because it clearly looks computer 2D animated and looks really kind of rigid in some ways, but I don't know, it looks pretty for what it is.
It looks okay.
This is the direction animation is kind of headed in these days, so I'll get used to it.
We'll give it a shot.
I'll give it a shot. I think I will give it its due shot. I'm not totally turned off by it. To kind of reiterate, I prefer the idea of Carmen Sandiego just stealing for the sake of stealing, but that's not to say that this is not also going to be a fun adventure. Lots of so long as she's stealing stuff and she's globe-trotting.
And she's got,
somebody is trying to catch her. I think that's going to be good enough.
I mean, they kept the hallmarks of, she's got the red coat and the red hat. That's pretty much the basics there.
Sure.
Red coat, red hat, long hair, 2 guns, is a vampire. No, wait, I'm thinking of Hellsing. I'm getting it mixed up. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is going to come out on Netflix. Check that out.
I really want
later
to
this
see.
year.
I really want to see Carmen Sandiego next to Hellsing, next to Vincent, next to
Vash the Stampede.
Like
all the red coats. The red coats are coming.
The red coats are coming.
Okay.
All right, we should stop now.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our second story, revolving around all the news and kind of tenuous things surrounding the Batman.
Who we actually, I'm using Batfleck here, but we honestly don't know.
We don't know
whether or not Ben Affleck is still attached to this, because people a long time ago were saying no, he left. We don't really know.
So here's what we do know. The 2 things that we do know are, one, they are looking to shoot starting in November. So they're trying to fast track this thing because they've gotten a lot of their confidence back, of course, based off Aquaman's box office. At this point, the script has already been submitted. Director Matt Reeves is already on board with the latest draft of it. They said they had to edit it to be more action-oriented, and you figure in a Batman movie there's got to be action.
Oh, of course.
So that goes without saying. But beyond that, the most tenuous thing that we're wondering about right now is that will Ben Affleck still remain in the role? Now, the idea that's been thrown around a lot from a lot of different news outlets is that potentially they could do a soft reboot, by which they mean that it could be, from most of the reports we've heard, the script revolves around a younger Batman. So what they could do is have Ben Affleck kind of bookend it, at the beginning or the end of the movie, talking about, I remember what it was like when I first, put on the cape and cowl, and then basically the whole movie is a flashback. And they could do it like that and then kind of segue into, okay, now we can have this guy be the new Batman.
Sure.
Kind of a handoff that way. But we still don't know quite yet. The other thing that we have on the table is the Joker movie, which apparently doesn't have any ties to anything, but I really doubt that they're going to not want to tie it into something if it does well.
Are they filming that yet?
It's done filming.
It's done filming.
So it's in post. So Todd Phillips there on Joker, they're telling their own story, but I'm willing to put money down right now that if that does well, they will very quickly be like, oh, no, we were kidding about it not being connected. It's right here. Yeah, what are you kidding about? Jared who? Like that's where they're going to go with that. So the idea is they're really trying to get back on board with, the big names. And we've already got a Wonder Woman sequel coming out or later this year, but we still don't know what is ever going to happen if we're going to get a true Man of Steel sequel. I guess not now, since Henry Cavill dropped out because of The Witcher.
Sure.
So at this point, yeah, they're trying to save the Trinity, and at this point, you don't want to do anything with Gal Gadot because she's made her mark. Like, she's Wonder Woman. And
absolutely.
You're still riding high on that. But going into your other big names, Batman and Superman, they're still trying to figure that out. Batman's always been their top priority, since Batman's making them just loads of cash since 1989 till now in the theaters. So the idea is, well, what is the best course of action for Warner Brothers and DC to make sure that they essentially save Batman?
Yeah.
So first and foremost, it's the question of Ben Affleck versus a new guy. Do you keep him? Do you not keep him? I'll go on record as saying I'm willing to give him another shot.
Sure.
Because I don't believe he's a bad Batman. I believe he had
a bad script.
He got terrible scripts. That was
Yeah.
not his fault. And, you know, talking to the guy, you know, hearing him in interviews, he loves the character. He's wanted to play Batman. The whole reason he took Daredevil was because he thought he would never get Batman.
Right.
And then he gets Batman. It's like, oh, I get to be this, you know, grizzled Batman. I want that. And most people did want that up to a point. Now, I do see some people talking about that. Now, Armie Hammer's name has come up more than once since he was attached to the was Justice League Mortal, which was the movie that they were trying to get off the ground. I think that was George Miller's script. And then I think it was 2 weeks out, they just canned it.
That's so sad.
It was so weird because they were just getting ready to get started on that, and the script for that is online. You can check that out. That would have been a pretty decent story. That would have been Maxwell Lord as the bad guy in that. But otherwise, you know, it's kind of an interesting way of bringing the team together. I think that script needed some work, but there's some moments you could have pulled from it and been like, okay, if we build around this, yeah, we can have a Justice League story.
Yeah, so that's another question. Are we going to revisit the Justice League again?
See, I don't know. See,
if we revisit the Justice League, if we do it with a totally different Batman, I mean, I guess you could do that. It'd be weird, but is it the same Justice League? Is it an entirely new Justice League story from... Like, I know I'm thinking kind of ahead, but I feel like Batman is, like, the crux of almost all of it. Him and Superman. Like, they're the ones that are... If any of them are the most necessary, those two are the most necessary.
Well, yeah, because the thing about it is Batman is very much the financial backing of the Justice League. He's also the brains of the Justice League. So the question there is, yeah, do you want to go ahead and focus on a younger Batman, or do we want to do a continuation? Do we want to actually dig our heels in and be like, look, we learned our lesson. Let's actually let him breathe in a script all his own.
Sure.
I actually would be okay with that. Because another reboot, I think at this point, it would feel like Andrew Garfield all over again. Where, you know, we were promised a fourth movie with Tobey Maguire, which at the time I was down for, especially because I wanted things fixed after Spider-Man 3. But then it just felt like, for as much as I liked that first movie, Amazing Spider-Man, it still felt like it was just too close. Like, we didn't have enough time, not enough gap. You know, between... Clooney to Bale, or even Bale to Affleck, there was a gap there.
Right.
You know, there was time to breathe and be like, okay, I feel like I'm ready for a new Batman. But here, when we know it's out there in the public, like, it's not his fault, he could be thrown out of Batman. It was all the crap with the script and Snyder and all this other stuff. You know, people still clamoring for the Snyder cut, which may or may not exist. But at this point, really, our best bet is to see whether or not he holds his own in his own movie. You know, that's still something we haven't afforded to Superman. You know, let him have a movie to breathe where you actually care about the character?
Or, I mean, we did and we didn't in Man of Steel, but...
Because you have to phrase it that way. We did and we didn't.
And it mostly was not what people were asking for. Do you do that again? Do you start over with Batman, or with Superman? Give him another movie to breathe and reestablish him?
Well, because the idea here is, one, I'm not saying Matt Reeves is a bad director. What I'm saying is, whoever you have at the helm has to have a vision, clearly. The idea... Hey, welcome back. Okay, blue screen's over. So to keep talking.
So blue screen, not to mention, it seemed it wanted to blue screen solely in order to do updates, because it decided it really needed to happen right now.
Right now.
But... that's over. We do want to get through the rest of the show. This will all be edited together in one big piece once it hits YouTube, so no worries there. Let's finish up Batman. We do want to talk about Overwatch here in a little bit.
Yeah. So in emulating The Dark Knight, I think they were trying too hard to put Superman in a box that was never meant for him. Here with the Batman, they have a chance to tell a Batman story that's not predicated off somebody else's success. You know what I mean? So if they can do that... You know, we've said this several times over the shows. We said this when they first announced Batman versus Superman. We want a Batman who's a detective.
Right.
Last time we got any detection was really out of Christian Bale in The Dark Knight. He's there detecting, like, let me do forensics, let me do my own thing. I want to see a thinking Batman.
Yeah.
As well as a Batman who can take a punch and dole out a punch.
Sure.
You know, I want gadgets, but I don't want over-reliance on gadgets.
We want a reliance on his wit, his intellect. And the last time he... tried to be a sneaky detective guy. He did it very badly in Rise of whatever.
Not quite
Justice League.
Because Lex Luthor did all the work for him.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, and that's mostly the problem of the script. Here, what I need is all of those things, but on top of that, I want a villain who is Batman's equal. I want somebody who can go up against him both mentally and physically.
Sure.
Just one guy. And that doesn't necessarily mean we need a rehash of villains we've seen before. Be like Marvel in the sense of take a chance on a villain we haven't seen yet.
Right.
You know, there's plenty of villains that you could do, that you can do justice to. If you want to do live action Hush, I mean, it might be a stretch, but I think you guys could find a way to do it. You know, do a live action Court of Owls. You can do that story. If you want to do some of the more modern takes on some of the characters like Riddler, that's fine. You know, we still have the Gotham Riddler, but that's ending. You know, that's not the same thing. You know, you're not going to transplant that over here. So you have room to tell stories with these characters, with this IP. Because, like, I'm not going to front. Like, Batman and Spider-Man are always neck and neck with me as far as my favorite comic book characters. But, like, Batman means a lot to me ever since I was a kid. I mean, like, I wasn't trying to wear this shirt on purpose. It's just what I wore. But, you know, starting with Adam West Batman, the character, for a lot of kids at the time, that was their intro.
Right.
And then that's what got them into comic books. And then that's how they got into the mythos and all of these things about Batman. So not only is it important there, yeah, of course, financially you want it to succeed.
Of course.
But on top of that, you know, you got to make sure you're just not doing something because it makes sense financially. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. But if anything from Aquaman or Wonder Woman tells you something, like we were saying right before the break, is that so long as your director has a vision that is not tied to something else. Wonder Woman was predicated on the idea of, I'm going to put something out there that half your audience, that your female viewing audience has not seen before. You know, Aquaman, same thing. I'm going to tell you guys a story in a realm we've never even looked at before.
Right.
You know?
We're talking, we've got somebody asking, are we going to see Mad Hatter on the big screen? We should. That would be a great
We got him in Gotham. My only complaint with that would be, yeah, he'd be a thinking villain. Yeah. But then how are we going to handle the physical aspect of it? I mean, you really have to dive into the whole mind control thing. Then I guess that's how he gets his goons.
Right.
So yeah, maybe that's a potential there. But you also, unfortunately, still have to go back on that thing. We need somebody who's toyetic. Right. You know, we want to sell merchandise of this person.
You don't think Mad Hatter could sell toys?
He's never been able to sell toys. I mean, they only ever sold one action figure of him. It's not like Mr. Freeze or Joker where you can sell multiple variants of an action figure or put him on it. Like, most I see him having is a shirt and a hat at Hot Topic, maybe a coat.
I think if done right, it could happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Any character can do it if you do it right.
Exactly. And thus, that's the whole reason we're talking about this. Are they going to do Batman right now that they've talked about finishing up the script? And we're going to get this new Batman movie. Who is this Batman? Are they going to do right by him? If they do, great. That's all we've wanted for this last generation of Batman and DC-related stuff. And the
last thing I'll stick on before we get into the next topic is the idea of, if you still want to have some sort of a thread, we know we're seeing it over in Marvel with the carryover into Captain Marvel of we're just de-aging Sam Jackson. Would you want to see them de-age Jeremy Irons to be a younger Alfred?
No.
Really?
No.
Because honestly, I was okay with his Alfred.
I don't think DC is capable of doing it as well as Marvel can.
Because they don't have the technology.
DC's tech, DC's CG is not good.
No, it's not good at all.
Constantly looks like, it constantly looks like the
I don't
CG
have a mustache.
From a PS4 game. Constantly.
Yeah.
Never looks in any way like I would actually believe that the stuff is actually happening.
Like, I believe that they put in the money for Aquaman to look decent,
also,
which was great.
He's underwater, so
also
that
he's
helps.
underwater, so the whole screen is supposed to be that. But if you want me to believe more than that on land, like let him do his own flips. Don't CG flips. Like, get an acrobat. Yeah. And the last, I know I just said that. The last thing I want, give us more of the Bat family. Give us Nightwing. Give us Red Hood. That would be great. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right. Yeah, we should finally wrap up this story. Phew, that story took like an hour.
I know, right?
Anyway, Where's my buttons? See, now that we've had to restart this, my buttons are like, what? I've just got some random Overwatch picture. It's just, you know.
So Overwatch, you know, it's my game of choice, my fave.
Yeah, but you're still playing it on console rather than on PC.
I prefer it that way. That's me.
And I'm so sorry.
You don't have to be sorry for me. At least I play.
Cool.
Well, see, here's the thing. So there's been a lot of updates in Overwatch over the last week or so. So a lot of these things have to deal with, I guess you'd call it, representation in the game from all the different kinds of people who play it. Because we know here on the show that there's not just one kind of gamer. Mm-hmm. You know, there's young gamers, there's old gamers, there's female gamers, there's male gamers, and there's in between.
I've learned just from coworkers, you know, you can bond over, oh, you play games, I play games, and then you find out they play totally different breed of games, and you're like, oh, I can't actually talk to this person because, like, well, I don't have anything to talk to them about because the things they like are not actually the same, even though they're the same.
Yes. So one of the things in Overwatch that has gotten a lot of attention is the big news that came out this week was tied to an in-game item that was being made available, or a couple of in-game items that were being made available. And to tie that in, there was a little bit of lore dropped in the form of a short story. It was only like 13 pages. Revolving around the characters of Ana and Soldier 76, mm-hmm. Which is the alias there of Jack Morrison. So in the context of this story, the two of them are recovering from a battle with Reaper and, you know, getting ready to go out there and do good in the world all over again. And the biggest takeaways that you get from that is it sets up why Ana is wearing the skin that they're allowing you to get in-game, mm-hmm. Which without having to pay for it, you just have to win 9 matches straight. That's great. You know, it's nice to get a skin guaranteed. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about loot boxes or anything like that. But the bigger takeaway from that is during this time, you know, they're old friends. They've been in Overwatch together for a long time. They know each other's history. And what comes up in conversation somewhere around page 12 of this story is the revelation that Jack had a former love interest who was a man by the name of Vincent. And this is the first that we've ever gotten confirmation of, and they confirmed it about an hour later from the producers there over at Blizzard that, yes, this is in fact confirmation Jack identifies as gay. So that makes him the second confirmed LGBT character there in Overwatch, the first, of course, being Tracer.
So these are some of the most popular characters, mind you.
Well, yeah, these characters are like the faces of Overwatch. Yeah. You know, you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, they're from that Overwatch game. You know, I recognize them. Like, you saw the costumes on sale this past Halloween. So that's really putting them out in the public eye. And of course, people saw this and the internet exploded. Sure. And to be fair, there's opinions one way or the other. My team in particular are overjoyed at this news. Absolutely. As far as the revelation there goes, a lot of people, you know, really dug it, really dig into it, and then there's other people who are. How do you want to phrase it?
I think some people are upset because they feel like it was snuck in on them, and they'll give any number of arguments, mind you. One is that. Well, if he was gonna be gay, you should have just been upfront about it and not tried to sneak it in. Or, why do we even need to talk about what his sexuality is? And then there's the people who are just pissed that he's gay at all. Just, like, straight up, they're not even gonna hide it. And I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, you're really friggin' good at Soldier 76. He's a really easy to use character. And
yeah, he's the most well-rounded and easy to pick up.
And every team is good with a Soldier 76. And what, you're just gonna not play him now?
Well, yeah, because there was there was a deluge of tweets of people saying exactly that. Like, well, I guess I'm not playing Soldier anymore. It's like, really?
Like, really? Why? Like, you could win the game with him. Maybe you just don't have to think about what his sexuality is and just play the game. Like, it would really just be that easy.
Because it's like, understand the update to his lore isn't about you, and it doesn't affect the patch notes. Yeah. Like, we got those a couple days later. I'm happy with that because Reaper got another buff. You know, go Reaper. But aside from that, you know, I understand that there's a lot to be said about representation in the game. Another thing that came out earlier this week was a letter from a fan sent directly to Jeff, who's the head of the creative team over there at Blizzard for Overwatch, talking about the lack of specifically a black female character that you could play there on the current roster, of which there isn't. There's 2 male black characters, but we don't have a female black character.
Right.
Now, to be fair, they do have several other female characters of color, which is great. But yeah, admittedly, that's a demographic going on 3 years now that we still haven't gotten. Now, to his credit, Jeff has talked about it and has responded to the fans saying, we've got other characters in the works and one of them's coming along very soon.
Great.
Now, I do fully believe that they're working on several ideas. If you look at the art book, they had a ton of ideas for all these different characters that they wanted to implement, but they just haven't gotten around to it yet. And at this point,
it would have been too much to throw in all at once. Now, should a black female character have come out at the beginning? Maybe somebody else could have been switched out. But it's definitely been enough time now.
Yes,
we've waited long enough for it.
I mean, if you want to time it out, do it right on the 3rd year anniversary. Yeah, make it an event thing. But the other thing that's coming up as a result of all this is the concept of. Something actually Jeff said is that we want to get to a point where when we're revealing stuff about this game, it's not breaking news, it's just accepted.
Yes.
That, oh, this character happens to identify this way. Oh, this character happens to be this gender. And it's nothing. It's just another note, and we can just keep moving on because there's not necessarily a need to be up in a huff about it.
Exactly.
And part of that goes into...
Because we don't get in a huff about literally any other character that ever gets released in any other media ever about what their sexuality is, because the blanket starting neutral idea is straight.
Right.
That's but as soon as you say it's anything else, then suddenly just people explode in opinions one way or the other. That should not be. There just shouldn't even be an opinion one way or the other.
Now, the other thing that's come along with that is this other news stemming from last week and carrying over into this week about a bit of a huff there in the Overwatch League about a... so we're going to follow the timeline as it was revealed. So there was apparently, there in the minor leagues that Overwatch has, there was a new player added that was just under the screen named Ellie. And people were going back and forth on that, on whether or not Ellie was actually a person, actually a female, because they didn't give out all the information, just the first name. So as people were digging into it, there was a lot of vitriol that came out directed at this person. And people were saying, well, there's no way it could be a female, or even if it is, how the hell did they get up there? They have such a low score. Why are they even being allowed? And it just got really nasty really fast. And unfortunately, this is a thing that happens a lot geared towards female gamers. Now, what ends up happening is that it's revealed that this is apparently, and this is the quote that they use, a social experiment by the team just to see what would happen if they included such a person on the team. Now, this, of course, has led to a lot of people going back and forth about all this and the concept of, well, it's not unknown that female gamers in Overwatch, or really any game, especially if you've got online play, that they face all of this really unnecessary vitriol thrown in their direction. And did you really need a social experiment to find out for yourself? You could have just listened to any number of complaints.
So basically what you didn't say is that it was a man who was playing this
specifically
character.
It was a user by the name Punisher using a Smurf account, so we know who exactly it was.
Yeah, secondary account, like his main account, you can see all of his stats and everything. Then you get Smurf accounts being the secondary account where it looks like you've got low numbers and everything, but then you're just going boom, boom, boom.
Because you've got all the skill, but it doesn't tie to the name.
So yeah, it does not help. Good for him for learning through just by saying he's female and seeing it for himself. Oh wow, this really was bad. But like, women have been saying this forever, and we just didn't get heard. I mean, maybe everybody does need to go through it for themselves in order to understand it, but I feel like that shouldn't be the case.
I would agree with that.
Furthermore, now that he has done this, because women already, at a certain point before this, were always being accused of, you're not really playing that game, you're not really as good as you're saying you are, which is what happened with Geguri. Geguri, who is in the major leagues, mainly as a Zarya player.
Freaking amazing,
fantastic
God-level Zarya player.
And only through a whole lot of heat did she finally make it into the leagues. But now that somebody has pretended to be female for the sake of a social experiment, it's just gonna fire up all the arguments of, oh, are women players really women players who are really playing their games and really doing it really well? It didn't help the cause. It didn't help the case. Good for him that he figured it out through personal experience, but now it just hurt the community more, I think, than he realized was going to happen.
I wouldn't so much go so far as to say that it hurt the community so much as it just further reveals that the community is messed up. That there's this inherent issue where, for whatever reason, there's this bias against female gamers. And I'm proud to be part of a team where most of my team is female, and also tying back to the other thing, identifies as, LGBTQ, any of the, I know they have
LGBTQ+, you don't need to make a big thing out of it.
And that's fine. They're great players. I'm not the best player. I defer to someone else's skill no matter who they are.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing your job, we're just playing a game here. Can we just play the game? And if everybody's got a piece there that they feel represents them, that's also great. Part of the reason that I like playing as Reaper is that he's one of the few Hispanic characters, main characters that you see in a video game. I don't see that very often where it's not, oh, they're a thug or something like that.
Just Cause, though.
Just Cause, I mean, yeah, there's Just Cause, fine. But no, you look at, all of GTA.
Sure,
and, there's the negative stereotype. But here it's like, no, this guy came from a military background, and he had pride, and he was in charge of his own troop. There's something that speaks to that. And so having these positive role models is great as well as it's in the game, but outside the game, we should have that same representation for allowing those same people on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, the complaints came up in Season 1. We're going into Season 2 of the Overwatch League, just starting up next month, right?
I believe so,
if I'm not mistaken. And people are still saying, where are all the female players at? Where's all the representation there for all the other people who play this game?
Yeah,
they're there making the art. They're there making the costumes. They're there on the PC, on their different consoles, loving and supporting your game. So why are they not seen on the screen when you're playing the matches?
It's great that the characters are represented, but yeah, it's time to show that the people being represented also play the game.
Yes, because it's kind of the same thing, tying it back to the same thing, talking about Wonder Woman, talking about Into the Spider-Verse, talking about Black Panther, all these things. When you see that, especially when you're young and impressionable, that does something to you. I've heard any number of interviews of women just that they interviewed coming out of the theater for Wonder Woman, kids coming out of Black Panther, coming out of Spider-Verse, wow, I felt something that I didn't know. People saying, people our age being like, I didn't know what it was like to see that for the first time. I didn't know I needed that.
Yeah, that's what I said about Wonder Woman. That's exactly
And
what
the thing
I
is,
said.
you're not the only one who said that. Other people other women said, I didn't know how important this movie was going to be until I came out. Until all this stuff was put out there. And now it does something to you. It's that empowerment of seeing, if I see myself up there, I feel better about myself. I feel better about the situation I'm in. And that's kind of been an overarching thing with Overwatch, is that, together, all of this different ragtag group of people coming together, we can accomplish something.
Of course.
And it would be great if the community reflected what the game's message actually was.
If only, but coaches and leaders of the Overwatch League have frequently said, here's why we don't include women, it's going to be a distracting thing, blah-de-blah. That's still there. That needs to change, but I think we're going to get there. I am not thrilled with how slowly it's happening, but I think we're going to get there.
Well, because, I think of that, and, we can get more into this in the post-show, of that's a pretty weak excuse.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be a distraction. We hear that mess with stuff in schools, and that's a whole bag of worms.
I heard that when I was working at previous jobs, that they couldn't sit me in certain places because they thought I was a distraction to the other guys around me.
Which is its own bag of worms in and of itself, but the idea is they've got to start somewhere. And so if the idea is, okay, we're going to take this character and put him in there, we're going to subvert tropes because you think, Jack Morrison is this manly, grizzled guy, and he's, the alpha male. Well, guess what? Your alpha male is still those things. And also happens to have feelings for this guy named Vincent. And that doesn't take away from those other things.
Yeah.
See, these things aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
And so if you're getting up in a huff and you're not going to play soldier because of that, well, that means you're going to play another character you're not good at, and I'm going to take you out.
Then bye.
Yeah, because soldier's my backup. I'm not going to play soldier any less. When I was testing out characters, those are the two I play most often because I'm mostly DPS. But just because I find this out about soldier doesn't mean I'm going to stop playing soldier.
Exactly.
Nobody else on my team is... In fact, a lot of people feel like they're going to play soldier more now, which is fine, And, just earlier today, Jeff puts out another thing about how he's commenting on how players are just never going to be satisfied with the meta.
They're not.
Of course they're not, because everybody's got their taste and everybody's going to whine about this, that, and the other thing. But the idea is, they give you the game, and they give you all of the pieces that you can do different things with the game. Maybe the idea isn't so much worrying about the nerfs and buffs. Maybe just get good. Maybe come up with new strategies. Maybe not just play DPS. I don't always, that's primarily what I do, but I also try being a tank. I also try being a healer. Be what your team needs. Be better than just the thing that you're stuck in, because that's kind of bringing everybody else down around you. And I think there's a message in that.
Sure.
So hopefully all of this boils down to everybody just not being jerks to one another about things. And I get where Jeff is coming from in trying to get the community to get along with the ideas that the game presents in that scope. And hopefully with the next inclusion, whether it's another female character of a different color, or it's another character who identifies in a different way, that it can just be a thing. We're all cool with it, and then we can keep getting back to getting our gold guns.
Exactly.
Because it's a game, and we should all be enjoying it for those reasons, and not having to ostracize anybody just because of who's behind the controller. That shouldn't be a thing.
Exactly. All right, we should probably leave it off there. It's going to be Q&A time here in a second. We had some issues today, but we still managed to get all the way through it, and I appreciate you guys who stuck with us for the entire episode 2 and who are choosing to continue to stick with us into our post-show. Thank you so much. For those of you over on YouTube, hopefully you weren't actually witness to the things that went wrong throughout the majority of the show, and thank you so much also for having watched. Now, if you are watching over on YouTube, thank you for watching, but it would be really cool if you made it down here on Friday nights, typically at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We did start tonight at 7:30, but you'll always get notified if you're following us over on Twitter as to whether or not things are or are not happening at a certain time. And if you're down here live with us, then you get to be part of the post-show with the Q&A stuff, which is stuff that otherwise on YouTube you never get to see.
Yes, and of course during the week you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
And that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys again next week.
Good night.